I'm fascinated by the influencer persona, I suppose, and the idea of social deception. And you can be anyone on the internet now, and that's brand new. And I've known a few pretty popular or successful influencers, even just locally. And some of them are very different in real life from what is sort of curated on the screen, like personality wise. So I started to delve into that and thought, what if you did that for a very long time? And perhaps would the lines of reality blur psychologically? And I really loved that. Or what if the lifestyle that you were presenting online was all taken from you and suddenly your main source of income and the lifestyle you've created is just gone? And then how do you maintain not just paying your bills, but the followers and continuing to give them what they're used to? Because breakdowns aren't allowed. I really loved the idea. And I also was sort of secondarily fascinated by the kind of sociopath that's walking among us because I had read that 20% of sociopaths are working and can, have a real daily life and have a family, and some of them are medicated and some of them aren't. So I've thought we probably have all known someone at some point who dealt with that stuff and they just haven't gotten criminal or toxic or psychologically, it's not damaging. It's just a little bit sociopathy or whatever. So I really liked the idea of when you walk through life kind of without this empathy that most of us have. And if you're looking, I know someone who was actually like this, and I had far too many run-ins because it's sort of family related stuff. But I thought, wow, what is it like to go through life? Um, Meeting people or interacting with people and being very charming and knowing how to make people feel comfortable and make people trust you and having a great smile and being able to cry when it served you, but then leaving or as soon as they turn around, you think, now what can I use them for? How are they good for me? How can I manipulate this situation? Or just the idea that you're gonna throw them away when they no longer have a use to you. So I was sort of delving those two things, the social deception influencer aspect and this sort of idea of a main character who has no empathetic emotion when she interacts with people. How do those two things come together? I think Shay's humor in The Influencer is so dark and so fun. And someone told me once, she's like, this series is popular, this character's popular because she's our shadow side. Like a lot of us think these things and we don't say them. And I'm like, that's a very good point. It's relatable. It's definitely an extreme version of it, but the seed of the things that she thinks can be very relatable. And maybe that's a little unnerving, and that's what keeps people turning pages too. I mean, maybe I have issues, but I just think that would be fun if you had no empathy. How terrible and fun. Because I've had enough counseling to be like, there's times I've walked away. I was like, I've read enough. I've read enough self-help. I could do this job. Because you just ask a question every 15 minutes and then you let them fill in the blanks and you let them talk and discover the answer themselves. So I was like, I could do this job. So, and that's a ridiculous statement. I don't really believe that, but there are moments that you think that, and I like to talk, so I fill a lot of the hour time with my own sort of ramblings. So I thought someone who has no empathy and has a really overinflated sense of like confidence in themselves and their intellect, and they're a good chameleon. This character is great at being a chameleon, so I thought that would just kind of be a fun job to play with and not do it for a whole lifetime and also zoom out and not be so because you have no empathy. You don't have to get overly attached and you don't walk away with like the heavy feelings that your client feels. Like I know that's something that a lot of therapists struggle with, but if you don't have empathy, you don't have that problem. You can just go on with your day and do your thing. So I thought in a very dark way, it would be sort of entertaining to get between a couple or a marriage and their issues and say things that aren't for the greater good. They're maybe for the worse, and you're doing it on purpose. So it was definitely unhinged and entertaining, and it's so fun to write from the villain's point of view. And a female, a girl villain, as I like to say. We've it's one thing to be inside the head of a villain, but when it's a woman who's very psychologically deceptive, it's entertaining. I feel like something is unleashed in me in those few hours a day that I spend with her. I think I could write a book from her like every year for the rest of my life and put her in different situations and stuff. It's just entertaining. In my mind, the second book was about dealing with her childhood trauma surrounding her dad and like the neglect that she suffered there. And in the third book, it was all the mommy issues that came out, that the deception. And her mom left, and maybe her mom left for the right reasons because there was abuse happening. Like maybe that's the only way her mom would have survived, literally. So it was sort of exploring Shay's experience with that. And then I thought, um, weirdly enough, what would it be like if you had a chance to get revenge on the person that ruined your life? And it's your parent beyond that too. What would it be like if you could put your grown parent through all of the abuse or neglect that they inflicted on you 20 or 25 years in the past? It was just something interesting to think about and play with, but also when you're getting that close to the things that happened in your past, is your mind slipping back again? And are you losing yourself and sort of your reality is shifting again? And now maybe you're adopting your mindset as an 8 or a 10-year-old and it's you're reliving that trauma. And that was a very interesting one to write. And I think Shay's sister, Sophie, is a very important thread that runs through the series that's and it's a very emotional wound for Shay. And that was also the only person on the planet that survived with Shay through everything. And Shay survived, but Sophie is no longer here. So that was such a great loss for her. It was her only ally who really understood what it was like, and she doesn't have her anymore. So I kind of Shay really kind of loses it for a minute. She slips in the third, and Sophie has a lot to do with that. And I enjoyed exploring that. And I also like to throw Shay romantic interest because isn't it interesting that a lot of this stuff from childhood or old traumas or whatever get brought up in romantic relationships. So Shay wants love like anyone else, and she just doesn't always know how to experience it, or maybe she didn't have it. She didn't have a good model or guide for it. So what does that look like for her trying to pursue love when she doesn't quite know what that is? Some readers have thought this needs a warning because it's definitely dark.